Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of Outdoor Magazine here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. My name is Mike Avery, and it is a pleasure and a blessing for me to sit behind this microphone, for me to sit at this microphone for 3 hours each week on many stations across the great state of Michigan, talking about the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan. What does that mean? Hunting, fishing, shooting, trapping. There are many ways to enjoy the outdoors. Things from golf to hiking to bird watching to sailing, and those are all viable, wonderful activities. Anything to get you outside, to get you out in the fresh air, to get you enjoying Mother Nature, I'm in favor of it. But I concentrate more on what I call the consumptive outdoor activities, hunting, fishing, shooting, and trapping, because those are the areas that I think are in some ways under attack. Those are the areas that are misunderstood. Those are the areas that the anti-hunting, the anti-fur, the anti-meat, the anti-trapping, the anti-enjoyment, the anti-life, the crazy people are kind of going after. So those are the areas that I tend to concentrate on more than the non-consumptive side. But whatever you do, whatever you feel compelled to do, whatever your passion is that gets you outdoors, God bless you. Absolutely. Just to get outdoors and enjoy it. I got some great news this week. Some really great news. We knew that the border to Canada was being opened. I did not know that Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters in White River, Ontario, was actually going to try to pull off his bear hunts, but he is. So I got word this last week that Ron is having a season. He's only moving it back a week. I don't know how he and the guys are going to make it happen. They are going to be busy. They are going to be working. They're going to be sweating to get the baits going, to get the baits established, to get the bears coming into them, but they're going to do it. And so here in just about, 3 weeks now, maybe closer to a month, I'm going to be going back to White River, and I am going to be able to go on a bear hunt. This is an unexpected surprise. I didn't see this happening, but I could not be happier. I love to bear hunt. Even if I don't shoot one, there have been many, many times I've gone on bear hunts, had the opportunity to shoot an animal and passed on it, because whatever, it wasn't the bear that I was looking for. I wanted to be out there and enjoy the experience more. I just like being up close and personal and in the face of bears. And when you're hunting bear over bait, some of these baits are 10 yards. I don't think I've ever hunted a bait over there that was more than 15 yards. So there's very little room for error. Bears often walk by your blind on the way to the bait. I've had them brush against the blind. I've had them stand outside my blind and make noise. You can hear them breathing. I've had them stand off at the bait and look at me because they knew I was in a blind. And I don't hunt from tree stands. I hunt from portable pop-up ground blinds. When I go up there, I'll take one of the Primal Wraith 270 see-through blinds, and I'll take one of the new Breeze warm weather blinds because it will be warm. So there's not a lot of protection. I'm not worried about the bears, but if you are, there's not a lot of protection. I should take a third blind too, because inevitably, when I set up a blind and these bears see something new in their backyard, they come over, investigate it, and more often than not, sometimes they decide they want to have fun with your blind. I've lost blinds before because bears have destroyed them, never when I was in one. I think I don't have a blind right now that's been out in the bare woods previously that doesn't have claw marks or teeth marks in it. I just love it. And it's just an unexpected surprise. And here's the fun part is, because to take advantage of this, you've got to be fully vaccinated and you've got to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of crossing over. I mean, I'm not talking about crossing over into the next world. I'm not talking about dying, but crossing over into Canada, Ontario. And because Ron was counting on some of his hunters being able to meet those qualifications, and he had a certain number of hunts in mind reserved, not all of his hunters have been fully vaccinated, and they're not going to get vaccinated. If you are and you want to try this adventure, you want to try this experience, Ron has openings. In fact, he's going to join me here later in this first hour to talk about that. But I'll tell you right now, if you go to northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com, that's northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com, Ron's got openings. His phone number is on the website. Call him or text him to see if you can take advantage of this. I am so excited. I've hunted up there for a dozen years or so now. Great people, great countryside, beautiful scenery, great bears, wonderful experience. From where I am in mid-Michigan, it's about an 8-hour drive. It's not a fly-in trip. You can drive there. It's just, I'm so excited. But I don't know if I'm taking the recurve or taking a crossbow. This is a struggle that I'm having internally right now. I don't want to give up the recurve. I don't want to give it up. But I'm not as confident with it as I should be. You might say, well, go out and shoot it some more. Yeah, I know. We'll see. It'll be a bow. It won't be a gun, that's for sure. When you're hunting bears over bait at 15 yards away, I think an .6 or a Win Mag or something is just overkill, no pun intended. If I was going to hunt bears over bait with a gun, it would be a 12-gauge slug. That's what I would use. I had the Angler Quest pulled this week, pulled meaning out of the water, lifting it up on a hoist to get the tubes power washed. This is something I do every year midsummer, and it is the most strangely satisfying and rewarding experience. You pull the boat, and it's just covered with crud. Zebra mussels and grass and junk and crud. And to watch them power wash this thing off, it's just, you know, like if you power wash your sidewalk or your house or something, how satisfying it is to watch it get immediately clean. That's the way it was watching the Angler Quest get washed off. But there's a reason to do it. Like my top end speed increased by 12 miles an hour after I got the tubes power washed. I'm getting, 45 miles an hour again. Not that I go that fast, but it's nice to know it's there if you want it. And people would say, well, why don't you just get those tubes bottom painted like you do a traditional V-bottom boat? And if I was going to hang on to these boats for a long period of time, I probably would. But since I turn them over fairly often, there's no sense getting them painted when I can just have them pulled and power washed. I have been out a couple of times since we last talked here on the show in the skinny water, which is holding up surprisingly well. Now, the last time out, the water temp had jumped to about 77 degrees, which is 6 degrees warmer than it was my previous trip just a few days earlier, which makes me nervous. As that water gets warmer, traditionally those fish head out. Normally, by the time I head up to White River on a bear hunt, the fishing on the inner bay in my shallow, skinny water is pretty slow. But it's holding up. It really is holding up. I got one buddy, a fellow skinny water rat, which is a term of affection, a term of endearment in my mind, who has actually been up there in that skinny water running crawlers. And I might, that's all caps, might actually make a trip through there myself with no flicker shads or Hottentots and try crawlers just to see. I know. Crazy, huh? What else? Oh, I got a wonderful package in the mail this week from Chris Durson at Rapid River Knifeworks, rapidriverknifeworks.com. I had ordered a couple of knives from him. I ordered a folding knife, a pocket knife, something I always used to call a jackknife. And I'm holding it in my hand right now. It is absolutely gorgeous. I always say you've got a knife in your pocket anyway, right? Why not make it a handmade knife from the folks here in Michigan? I ordered a second knife. It's a fillet knife. I don't want to it's a gift for somebody. And I don't really want to say too much more about that because I don't want him to know that it's coming. These things are works of art, but they're designed to be used. Chris says, I don't care how pretty they are. If you get one of my knives, I want you to use them. Oh, who's coming up on the show this week? Well, thank you for asking. After the break, Randy Cornell, who is a fishing guide on Mitchell Lake, Cadillac, and Houghton Lake. That'll be an interesting conversation. Then Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters talks about his openings. He's got Paul Pirone of VersaSkins. They've got product in stock, announcing a big promotion. In hour number 2, Jim Felgenauer talking about sturgeon season on the St. Clair River. Nick Green of MUCC, this week's Ask Avery segment, questioning my sanity. And I'll leave it at that. In hour number 3, Vance Gawel talks about hunting bears with dogs. He lost a dog in the UP to wolves a couple of years ago, and we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar. That's coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. And it looks like I'm going to be heading through the Sioux on the way to White River here in just a few weeks on a bear hunt in White River, Ontario. So excited about that. It was such an unexpected surprise, and I can't wait. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a safe, clean, water-resistant, insect-resistant alternative to firewood. It's safe to cook over because it's made from recycled hardwood. You can use it in your grill, your backyard patio, your smoker, your fireplace. Any place you could burn wood, you can burn Speedy Blaze. It burns down to an ash. It burns hot. It burns clean. There's no downside to this at all. Check them out online at speedyblaze.com. That's speedyblaze.com. While you are online, of course, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and check out this website, KarmaSportFishing.com. KarmaSportFishing.com is the website of Captain Randy Cornell. Randy is a charter captain and a fishing guide, an inland fishing guide, and he sent me an email. He says, Mike, I'm doing something interesting, and your listeners might want to know about it. And I agreed once I heard about it. Randy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, Mike, and you?
I'm doing great. Randy, listen, you and I have never met, but the more I learn about you, I find you a fascinating guy. You've had a pretty interesting life, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I really have.
Coast Guard, charter captain, law enforcement. I mean, you've run the gamut.
Well, I did, and it really all started with being a first mate on my father's charter boat over in Manistee and Lake Michigan back in 1969.
Well, you and I are about the same age, and you go back to a kid on the water. You actually were a first mate for one of the most famous charter captains ever on the Great Lakes, Emil Dean.
Yes, sir. In summers of my high school years, from freshman through senior, were spent actually living aboard Emil's boat, the Mary E., and I fished with him from South Haven all the way to Frankfort, Michigan, every summer.
What an experience that must have been for a kid.
Oh, it was fabulous. I learned so much from that man, not only about fishing, but about life in general and how to behave as a young man and grow into an adult that could be respected, that was honorable, and that could be successful.
And then you went into the Coast Guard. You spent a career in the Coast Guard. What is it about the water? There's something about the water that attracts you, isn't there?
Well, thanks again to my father. We started fishing in little 15-foot Thompson lap straight wood boat, and it just continued to grow. And I spent my life literally living on the water until I joined the Coast Guard. And then I rode a desk for 28 of 29 years. But somebody has to take care of the people that are doing the important work of the Coast Guard. So I was an entitlements and benefits specialist for the Coast Guard for over 25 years. And in my free time, when I wasn't on duty, when I took leave, I was fishing.
Well, and these days, you're out there on the water fishing every day you can be.
Yes. I have developed an inland lakes program where I fish Lake Cadillac, Lake Mitchell, Houghton Lake, and Lake MUCC. And we're pursuing predominantly walleye, but we're happy to catch everything that bites.
See, I find this very interesting because these days, myself included, when I think about captains running walleye trips, I'm thinking about Saginaw Bay, Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie. So to hear you running these inland lakes is very cool.
Yes. And we found it very difficult to break into that market, realizing that I had nearly a 50-year span from the time I stopped working for Amodine until I got my own captain's license. It's very difficult to break into that market. There are a lot of people that are very well established. And then, of course, COVID hit and literally shut me completely off because there's no way you could do the 6-foot social distancing in a 19-foot boat. So I started fishing locally because it's right here. I only live 3 miles from Lake Mitchell. So that was my drive to start something new. I created an ice fishing guide service and had pretty decent success over the winter. And then I thought this spring, why even try to compete with the bigger boats and the already well-established group of charter fishermen on the bay? Let's see if we can't do something on these inland lakes. And it has literally exploded.
Yeah, because it's a niche. You're serving a market. You're serving a group of people that a lot of others aren't.
Absolutely, it's a great family fun day. We don't have to worry about wind and wave conditions near as much. We very seldom get blown off these small lakes. It can get a little on the choppy side, bumpy side, so to speak, but it's never unfishable as long as you can maintain your speed control and your steering.
So tell me about these trips. First of all, how are you targeting these walleye in these inland lakes? Is it a trolling approach, or are you guys just jigging for them?
We are actually taking all of the techniques that I have learned over on Saginaw Bay and downsizing to a trolling method along the outside edges of the weed beds in these inland lakes. And we're doing what I consider to be fabulous. We have caught a couple of inland water limits of 15-inch walleye between 7 in the morning and 12 noon, which is pretty much unheard of because most people think you have to fish walleye either just at sunrise or sunset to after dark.
Are you going to, I suspect you're not going to see the size of fish or numbers of fish you would out in the big water.
Well, you certainly aren't going to see the numbers because the limit restrictions is 5 fish per person versus 8. They have to be 15 inches versus 13. But it's a decent fishery because you don't necessarily know what you're actually going to catch until you get close enough where you can actually see the fish, because you have largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, northern pike, big, bold bluegills out of Houghton Lake, some 12, 13-inch crappies out of Houghton Lake. Occasionally we'll catch a 9, 10-inch perch, but the creel that you can actually catch is only limited by those fish that want to bite.
Well, that's pretty much the case anytime, isn't it?
It is. And that's the other thing about inland lakes. You don't necessarily know that you're going to catch fish because there are so many factors, as you know, being a fisherman yourself, that go into whether or not it's a catching day or a fishing day.
Well, exactly. And what I'm thinking about it, especially if you tried to run these trips on the weekend, you would have recreational boaters, you'd have skiers, you'd have jet skiers, and those are all factors that are going to get in your way.
They are, but if you fish the lakes long enough, you learn where the weed beds are that aren't close enough to where the recreational people are boating. You get the occasional person that wants to come by and see what's going on, but I found that I'm pretty much the only guy in the areas where I'm running my trolling lines.
So are you trolling live bait or are you trolling plastic?
I am using leech rigs and live leeches. What I found is that the downsizing is the key element to being able to take the Saginaw Bay trolling techniques, planer boards, drop weights, inline weights, bottom bouncers, and applying it to the shallow waters, 11 to 14 foot typically, and it's still that 1.2, 1.4, 1.5 speed, and the smaller blades of the leech rigs seem to match what the fish are spitting out when they go into the cooler, because I've seen several fish spit up a 2 to 3 inch small perch.
How are the locals on the lakes? What kind of reaction do you get from them? Are they resent you bringing in people for a commercial operation in any way? I mean, it's completely legit. It's completely legal, but what kind of reaction do you get?
Well, there's a couple of people that think that if I share all the information that I have over this summer developing a program, that more and more people are going to come up and go fishing. But I learned that from the great Emil Dean. You don't keep that information to yourself. It's of benefit to the entire community to have tourists come up here and enjoy what central northern Michigan has to offer.
Randy, how late will you run these trips into the year? Will you be fishing right into the fall?
We will fish this year right up until the end of August. I have a prior commitment for September and October that's going to prevent me from doing any real significant fishing. We'll take it case by case and see what we can work out. Next year, we will fish right up until snow flies.
Well, I think what you're doing is very interesting. I think it's a niche, and I think there's a lot of people who would want to take advantage of this that maybe don't want to go out in the big water. The website is Carma Sportfishing, CARMA, CarmaSportfishing.com. Randy, good luck to you, and thanks for reaching out.
Thank you, Mike. I enjoyed it. Had a great time, and looking forward to talking further if we get the opportunity. And folks, if you want to go fishing for some family fun, check us out. We're going to do our best to put you on the fish and give you a chance to catch some of the fish that are available in all of our inland lakes.
CarmaSportfishing.com, CARMA, CarmaSportfishing.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters tells you how you can get in on this last-minute bear hunting opportunity adventure in White River, Ontario, Canada. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. Jumping over to the other side of the state, you can hear us in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. And let's head south and west to Holland, WHTC 1450 AM and 99.7 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Linwood Beach is Angler Quest Central. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. While you are online, this is a website I've been talking about all morning here. NorthernWildernessBearOutfitters.com. NorthernWildernessBearOutfitters.com. There you can find a phone number for Ron St. Louis. I got a wonderful phone call from Ron a few days ago. He said, Mike, the border's open, and we are going to run bear hunts. So I am heading back here in just a few weeks, but the really exciting news is Ron has some openings. I know this is a last-minute opportunity. You might not have been planning for it, but it's here if you want to take advantage of it. And Ron is with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ron, welcome back. How are you?
Doing good, Mike.
Hey, an unexpected surprise, huh?
Yeah, unexpected for sure. When I spoke to you before, we were going to cancel this year, but then they decided to open the border, so we're going to have a hunt. Well, now you and the guys have a lot of work ahead of you, don't you? Yeah, quite a bit of work, but I mean, it's going to be well worth it. It's been so while since we've had a hunt. What, a year now?
Yeah.
So,
and I hear there are no blueberries this year, so that's a good sign too.
Yeah, lots of bears running around, like no berries at all. Like, we checked some good berry patches, and there's barely anything. And there's not going to be nothing. There's no sign that berry is going to pop, or that's the biggest thing you worry about. Is it going to be, get rain? Is it going to just get a bumper crop just like that? But there's absolutely not even a berry to be seen. So, no, it should be really good.
The caveat is the government, the Ontario government, is saying you got to be fully vaccinated to take advantage of this to cross the border. And I think us Americans have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of trying to cross into Canada, correct? Yes, yeah. That's the thing, is you got to be fully vaccinated 14 days prior to arrival, crossing the border. And the same with you, within 72 hours before you cross, you got to have a negative COVID test. You got to do a COVID test. And there's an app out, it's called the ArriveCan app, /Canada.ca. You can go on there. You got to go on that app. And it's just what it does is you just fill it in. It's going to ask you your information with your that you're fully vaccinated. When you got, it'll have in your information when you get vaccinated, it tells you when you got vaccinated, everything. It'll just give them, it gives them all that information before you get to the border. So when you get there, you're not getting there with surprise and saying, no, this doesn't work or anything like that. You can fill it all out. You fill out your, you put on your test. It says to fill out that ArriveCan app 72 hours prior to crossing the border. That way when you get there, everything's done, so you're not running into issues at the border. What's that called again, Ron? It's called, ArriveCan. ArriveCan app. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Yeah. Now, and because some of your hunters, weren't expecting this opportunity, they didn't get vaccinated, they're not going to have time to get vaccinated, you do have some openings now, don't you? Yes, we do have openings. We do have some openings, so, so if somebody's interested in the hunt, they just have to, give me a shout or shoot me a text, and then I can, it's easier to just, if they call me, then I can explain everything and go through everything with them, then, texting back and forth, and then, and if they can't, we're doing the August 22nd to the 28th, and for those that can't make that week, we're going to do the following week after. Oh, really? That works better for them, for the August 29th to September 4th. I'll do that extra week just because it just gives, the guys a little bit more time. If they can't make that, it gives a bit more time to book holidays. This is a last-minute decision. So sure. If they, So if they go to the website, northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com, your phone number's there. They can text you. They can call you. If somebody wants to reach out to me, they can send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I can get you in touch with Ron. Ron, this is a hunt over bait. It's close up and personal, and I got to believe with no berry crop and not being hunted for a year, there's going to be a lot of shot opportunities for your hunters.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be crazy. Like this, the first 3-4 years that we never had no issues with bears, like in town. And this year it's just crazy. Like they're all over the place at the bait shack, and because the bears in the past, they weren't coming around, but this year they're hungry. So, and I talked to the guys that work at dam sites further back, and they travel those roads every day, and they're seeing big bears, like lots of bears. Like tons of bears. So, well,
it's a great last-minute opportunity. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, the website, northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com. You can get Ron's phone number there, or you can email me, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. I can give you his number. Ron, I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks, and I appreciate you doing this. You made a lot of people happy.
Right on. Thanks, Mike. And I just can't wait to see everybody again.
I know it.
It's been a while. I'm just excited to get out there and bait, and get the bears in, and just... it's just crazy having to wait, this long. Like I didn't expect it, but with everything going on, I guess not much we can do. So
yep, Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters. The hunt is on the 22nd through the 28th. If you can't make that, you can go a week later. NorthernWildernessBearOutfitters.com, or email me, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I can put you guys in touch. Paul Pirone of VersaSkins coming up after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM and 100.7 FM. And you can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry for 75 years now. Boning is celebrating their 75th anniversary now in 2021. What a tremendous accomplishment that is. Boning is a Michigan-based company, and I love that. They continue to innovate. They started with Ferrultite to glue broadheads to arrow shafts. These days, they continue to come up with new products for bow hunters, target archers, and they've been doing it for 75 years. Check out the website, boning.com. That's BOHNING, boning.com, and congrats to everybody at Boning. Also, a big congrats to everybody at Michigan-based VersaSkins as well. They haven't been around 75 years, but they did... They made it through COVID. Any company that made it through COVID is a success in my mind. Paul Pirone is the man behind VersaSkins, and he joins me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Paul, welcome back. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you as well. And it's exciting that you've got a little something special going on. You're reaching out to a new segment of customers, a new part of the market, and you've got product in stock.
We do, Mike. Yeah, over the last couple of years, people have been coming by our booth at Woods and Water or different shows, or emailing us or calling us looking for bigger sizes, 4, 5, and even 6XL. So what we did is we went out and did some market research, and really, Mike, there's not much out there for the bigger hunter. And so we are now offering 4, 5, and 6XL jackets with snowskin and blaze vests. So we're testing the market. We have limited quantities. There have already been people reaching out to us wanting to meet with us and buy. So we're hoping to outfit the bigger hunter and be known as a company that can take care of their needs. We had a guy come by the booth at Woods and Water a couple of years ago. He's been wearing the same coveralls since 1972 because he can't find a 5X suit to fit him.
Well, I can tell you, as a former big guy, this is nice because there aren't a lot of companies that make product in those larger sizes. So the fact that you guys are getting into this, are they taller at all as well, Paul, or just bigger around?
Yeah, the way our coats are cut, they are taller. They have longer sleeves, and they have the 2-inch drop tail on the backside. So, as you know, they tend to fit the taller person. Now, there's always the percentile that they won't fit if you're 6'11", 7 foot, or whatever. But for the most part, it'll fit most of the people. Yes,
it'll fit a 6'5" guy. I can tell you that for a fact.
That's correct. Yep.
The website is versaskins.com. Versaskins.com. Change the skin for the season you're in. You came up with this innovative concept a couple of years ago. How's it going, Paul?
We're doing well. Like you said, we survived COVID. We are still only, and we're going to continue the path of e-commerce only because that keeps our costs down. And we're in 28 states currently. We have customers in 28 states and Canada. So we're slowly, grinding it out, and we're doing a lot of grassroots marketing, word of mouth, social media. We've got a big push now. If we can get to 1,500 Instagram followers, we're going to give away a jacket. And then we have a code for discount for your show as well. It's live. It's going to go from now until September 1, and that is the code is Avery 20. And you'll get 20% off of anything inside the store.
Avery 20 at versaskins.com, a 20% discount. I like that, Paul. I appreciate that. Thanks.
You got it, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll be pushing that real hard. That's through when, Paul?
September 1st.
September 1st. And now also, you're going to be back at Woods and Water Show. That big show is going to be on this year. There's going to be a lot of... I think that thing is going to be crazy because there's a pent-up demand. We haven't been able to do it. I think it's going to be busy, and it's nice that you guys are going to be out there.
Yeah, this will be our 4th year at Woods and Water. We'll be at the same location, booth 290. And, of course, we'll have a Woods and Water discount as well. So we're looking forward to, meeting and seeing all the people, having return customers, and, outfitting the great state of Michigan with VersaSkins product.
Wonderful. Versaskins.com. Use the promo code Avery20 to get a 20% discount. Paul will be pushing that. We'll let people know about it. And thanks for making product in those bigger sizes. A lot of people are going to appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mike. Thank you very much.
All right, Paul Pirone of VersaSkins. Change the skin for the season you're in. They're very well-built, high-quality hunting clothes, but you can snap and zip a new cover on. So you can make them blaze orange, you can make them camouflage, you can make them snow camo. Very versatile. No sense going out and buying new hunting clothes for every season, for every activity. Just change the outer color or pattern or whatever, and you're good to go. Versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. And now, through September 1st, you can use the promo code Avery20 to get a 20% discount. How cool is that? We will take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to check in with Jim Felgenauer of the St. Clair Sturgeon group, stclairsturgeon.org, about the sturgeon season that is now open on St. Clair River. And then I think Nick Green from MUCC will be checking in, and this week's Ask Avery segment. All coming up in hour number 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. 3 hours each week talking about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of right here in the great state of Michigan, and occasionally beyond. As in the first hour, we were talking about a surprise opportunity to go on an Ontario bear hunt. I am excited about that. This is a radio show. You might be listening to the podcast version of, but it is recorded, produced, scheduled, and distributed primarily as a radio show. And I do think the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local radio station. There you get your local news, weather, and sports. Plus, the radio stations get the content before the podcast does. But isn't it nice to know that if your local radio station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the radio show, or if you're not covered by the broadcast signal, you can hear the podcast version of the show. You can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's also on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, the Avery Outdoors feed on Twitter. It's on LinkedIn, on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player FM, Deezer, Odyssey, and even YouTube. I know. Isn't YouTube video? Yeah, it is. But I put the radio show up there as well, and people check out the radio show on YouTube. As long as I'm talking about blatant self-promotion, I also do monthly podcasts for Jay's Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Killer Food Plots, Polar Craft Boats, and Shadow Hunter Blinds. And once we get done with the radio show today, we will record this week's Polar Craft podcast with Captain Z down on Lake St. Clair. So keep an ear out for that. Speaking of Lake St. Clair, the St. Clair River, what a wonderful bodies of water those are. What a tremendous resource. The fishery there, world class for so many different species. Often we hear about, muskies or walleye on Lake St. Clair. But the St. Clair River has tremendous fishery as well. And this time of year, a lot of anglers start to think about the sturgeon fishery that's there. Isn't that something? There aren't that many places where you can actually go out and target sturgeon and have a pretty good chance of getting one. Well, St. Clair River is one of them. And Jim Felgenauer is a guy who's been promoting that resource for years. He's with the St. Clair Sturgeon. It's stclairsturgeon.org, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jim, welcome back. How are you?
It's been a little while.
It has been a little while. How is retirement treating you, or don't you even know you're retired yet because you've been so busy?
Mike, I have no idea how I had time to work.
I hear that all the time from people. Good for you. You doing anything fun, though? Have you been out on the water at all?
Well, yeah, Mike, I have a bunch of the walleyes in the freezer, of course. We've had a very successful year. Down here in this system, we've had several very good year classes, 2018, 2019, 2020, and those fish are starting to recruit into the fishery here. We're going to have a great walleye fishery for many, many years. And, of course, we tried to chat last week, but I was up north camping and had a whole ton of fun with a bunch of 5 and 7 inch brook trout.
Oh, no kidding. Man. It's, if you love to fish, we live in a great state, don't we?
Mike, the variety here is incredible. Even in our local fishery, it's world-class smallmouth and muskies and sturgeon and, perch fishing, anything you can think of in the state of Michigan. It's just tremendous opportunities.
Your beloved Lake St. Clair and St. Clair River, though, are really pretty unique. I mean, they're sandwiched between two Great Lakes. Some people say St. Clair should be considered another Great Lake itself, but it's a fish factory, isn't it?
Yes, Mike. It's referred to around here as the heart of the Great Lakes. So that lake gets more fishing pressure than any other lake in the state.
And recreational boating pressure. So you've got that to deal with, especially on weekends in the summer, too.
And that's the reason I stay off of the water pretty much in the on the weekends, I let the recreational boaters have that. But, conversely, during the week, there is a lot of opportunity out there, or even on the weekends early in the morning, or, of course, with our sturgeon fishing, and the boat traffic subsides at night. So we do a lot of our sturgeon fishing at night, even on the weekends.
Well, and the sturgeon season is officially open now, but for practical purposes, are people fishing them yet, or are you going to wait a few weeks to get started?
Some people are fishing, Mike. Usually the better fishing is in the fall. Some of the charter captains are still chasing some other species. Some of those guys run salmon charters and that kind of thing as well. But what they'll do is they'll switch over in September or October for the sturgeon. But the people that are out there are catching some fish.
So you could go out there now and target them and have a reasonable chance of getting a sturgeon.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And would that be a night bite just because of the other boat traffic? Or do they feed during the daytime, Jim?
Mike, I'm still trying to figure that out. I have some people from in-fishermen are coming out. I'm going to fish with them in October. And they typically fish for sturgeon during the day. I know up in the Rainy River system that they catch fish during the day. And I still need to try to figure out how to do that here.
How cool is that? How exciting is that you're going to be fishing with the in-fish people? That's a big deal, Jim.
Yeah. I'm sure they're a lot better anglers than I am, but I know the area.
But I was going to say, they don't know that river like you do, though.
Right, exactly. So, hopefully we can put them on a few fish out here. I think they're going to come up for a couple of days, and that's always a lot of fun to do that kind of thing.
How many years have you been fishing that river?
Mike, I just turned 67, so 60 years. Not always for sturgeon.
Well, the sturgeon fishery is relatively young, isn't it? I mean, I'm not talking about in the old days before it crashed, but the recent day sturgeon fishery, that's fairly new.
Mike, that fishery had died off some. The fish were more of a curiosity. But when I was a kid, there were people that fished out here, and I don't know what the seasons were, but they actually harvested pretty much everything they caught. And it was more a curiosity here. This is a big walleye area. But my buddy Mike got me involved in this, though, probably 15 years ago. And so we've been promoting it, and it's been a growing fishery. As you and I well know, the more people that are participating, the more of an ownership interest they have, and the better that resource is protected.
So what is the interest in these fish? Why the appeal? Why is it growing?
It's a unique opportunity, Mike. These are the largest fish in Michigan. There's nowhere else in the state that you're going to find fish that are upwards of 100 pounds. And we have a very extended season here. We go catch, you can't keep a fish the entire time, but from July 16th, and we've gotten the season extended to March 15th. There's a spawning closure, but you can only keep a fish until the end of September. That's one fish per year between 42 and 50 inches. But you can target lake sturgeon down here for a very good portion of the year as a catch and release fish.
Do the fish spawn in that river, or do they drop down to Lake St. Clair or go up to Lake Huron to spawn?
Mike, we worked, and in fact, we're adopted as partners on some reef projects here. When we first started Sturgeon for Tomorrow about 11 years ago, and those spawning reefs have been very successful. They're finding that some fish are spawning on more than one of those installed reefs. And more recently, I talked to Andrew Briggs over at the research station in Harrison Township, and in their sturgeon surveys this year, they have found a lot of juvenile lake sturgeons. So those spawning reefs are doing their job, and they're producing a lot of fish, and those fish are starting to show up in some of the surveys now.
We're talking with Jim Felgenauer of the Lake St. Clair Sturgeon for Tomorrow group, the website stclairsturgeon.org. That's stclairsturgeon.org. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, though, I want to talk with Jim about the specifics of targeting these fish. Where do you go? How do you rig up for them? What do they fight like? It's a fascinating, interesting, exciting fishery, and it's right here in Michigan. More after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Taos on WIOS. 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us in Newberry on WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knifeworks. In my hands right now, you can't see it, but I'm holding a beautiful folding knife. Pocket knife. I used to call them a jackknife. Made by Rapid River Knifeworks. Handmade by craftsmen in the UP. And this thing is absolutely beautiful. I put in an order with Chris Durson of Rapid River. I said, look, if I want to be talking about you guys, I want to carry one of your knives. And I also ordered a fillet knife for a buddy of mine. Well, they came the other day, and they are both absolutely beautiful. The thing that stands out to me on this right now is the heft of it, the weight of it. This is something designed to last a lifetime. But Chris says, look, use these things. Even though it's beautiful, even though it's a work of art, use them. You've got a knife in your pocket right now. Why not make it a Michigan-made knife by Rapid River Knifeworks? The website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. And if you get a chance, check out their beautiful, gorgeous showroom in Rapid River. I'll be posting some pictures of this knife so you can check it out and see what it looks like on my Facebook page and on Instagram as well. But in the meantime, right now, we're talking with Jim Felgenauer of Lake St. Clair Sturgeon for Tomorrow. St. Clair Sturgeon for Tomorrow, the website, stclairsturgeon.org, stclairsturgeon.org. Jim is a guy who's been promoting this sturgeon fishery intensely, but he's also just a hardcore outdoorsman, a hardcore fisherman. Jim, are you still on the Lake St. Clair Advisory Committee?
Yes, I'm the chair of that committee currently, also on the Warm Water Resources Steering Committee, and I just started another corporation, the Lake St. Clair Fish Cleaning Foundation. And I'm trying to get a fish cleaning station built down at one of the boat launches here in Harrison Township. We currently do not have a fish cleaning station on Lake St. Clair.
So would this be a DNR effort or a local municipality effort?
All of the above. You know, right now we're just waiting on approvals from the Water and Sewer Departments, Harrison Township, Macomb County Public Works, Great Lakes Water Authority. The DNR Parks Division has been wonderful working with us. And, you know, this is a slow process. You're dealing with government, but hopefully we can get this done. We're very optimistic, and it would be a great facility if we can accomplish that.
Are you looking to put in a grinding system or a bag and remove system?
A grinding system, hopefully that would go directly into the sanitary sewer system.
And that then becomes a big deal, doesn't it? This is not an easy process to get approved.
No, there's some hurdles, but you know, I'm an old Marine Corps guy. Never give up, never quit.
Well, you've proven that over the years. So, listen, from an overall bigger geographic picture, Lake Huron, anything going on there we should be aware of? What are you guys working on right now, Jim?
For me, pretty much that. You know, and Mike, one of the things we're trying to do is get back to normal here, what we would consider normal. last year we lost a lot of opportunity on our outreach events, World Wetlands Day. We had to collect up our sturgeon and the classroom fish early, so we never completed the school year last year. We're getting back to some in-person meetings. We're trying to put together at least a small festival for the fall here in Clay Township. We're going to have fish available from Genoa Fish Hatchery again. We're going to have the kids back in school. We're going to have fish back in the classroom. We will probably sponsor some kids on a fish release on the Maumee River. Again, there's a sturgeon full moon event coming up in Port Huron. And, personally, I'm helping Lori Card with a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation event this weekend up in Frankenmuth. So,
yeah, you're right. You didn't have time to work. All right, so listen.
And I still manage to find time to fish once in a while, Mike.
And let's talk about that. These giant, prehistoric, beautiful, but ugly fish that are found in your river system there. First of all, where do you find them in the water column and in the river?
Interestingly enough, I was talking to the guys from In-Fisherman. They said they have never fished for sturgeon in water deeper than 40 feet. And that's where I concentrate my efforts. I like to fish along the channel edges, just beyond the drop-off, especially if the current sweeps in near shore, where there's bringing some bait into the shore. And, those areas that are just outside the main current, sturgeon are like a trout. They're going to be in those same areas. They're going to be holding in the deeper holes or on the edge of the current breaks, little eddies. And, those are the areas that they're going to be feeding as well.
Are they feeding on the bottom or are they suspended feeders?
They feed on the bottom primarily, what they call benthic prey, little wormy things on the bottom, maybe gobies, crayfish, zebra mussels, that kind of thing. But we have seen them feeding on mayflies in the upper part of the water column, actually, during that hatch. So they don't typically feed up in the water column, but they can. When we fish for them, we fish for them on the bottom.
It would be something, though, to be out there and see a 4-foot fish come up and slurp mayflies off the surface.
Yes, that's an interesting thing to see. And you'll see sturgeon at night jumping, and, when you're traveling, you'll see them on your fish finder out in the middle part of the water column. So they don't spend all of their time necessarily on bottom, but they do feed primarily on the bottom. And for us, it's primarily at night.
Jim, twice when I was fishing with you at night, we didn't see him, but we heard sturgeon come up and jump around us. That's not like a smallie jumping. I mean, this is a big fish.
Right, and it's even more exciting when they're jumping on the end of your line.
How do you fish for them? You said you're on the bottom, but describe the setup. Describe the rig.
Mike, it's a basic slip sinker rig. And, I use there are sinker sliders, or you can just use a snap swivel on your main line, which allows you to change out weights depending on the depth. And we have water here as deep as 70 or 80 feet deep. I have fished as deep as about 60 or as shallow as 30 feet. And you'll change up your sinker based on your depth. Running, typically you like to run a short leader to probably a 5/0 circle or octopus hook. And we just load that up with night crawlers, and we'll just throw that out behind the boat. We're typically anchored, throw that out behind the boat, and let that set on the bottom and wait for a bite there. In the fall, when you get some floating weeds, that kind of thing, you get some strings of weeds, I'll go to a little bit longer leader so that bait doesn't get covered up with weeds. But when I can, I like to fish a shorter leader, probably no more than about 2 feet.
You holding the rods in your hand, or are they in rod holders on the boat?
I typically will hold one. The other, I will keep another rod in the rod holder just for bonus fish. The key thing is that it's a very light bite. As far as gear, guys that have musky gear, salmon gear, dipsy rods, catfish rods, rods for fishing from shore. Those will all work, but the key thing is you like to have a soft tip, because these fish, when they suck in the bait, are almost like a perch bite, and it's very subtle, and if your rod is too heavy, you're not going to feel that. So you increase your odds by holding on to one rod, being able to feel that bite. But a soft tip is important on the rod, and, of course, good backbone.
A fish of that size comes in with such a delicate little bite.
And sometimes, Mike, they'll pick up the bait, swim toward the boat. You don't think you have a very big fish, and once you tighten up on that line, you find out that you got a monster there.
What is that fight like? I mean, because some of these fish are absolutely huge. It's got to be something.
It's an adrenaline rush, Mike. We sometimes they just bulldog to the bottom. Sometimes you'll get a few good jumps out of them, and occasionally they'll wrap up in the line where you don't get very much fight. But typically it's a bulldog fight, and will last for several minutes, anywhere typically from 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even longer in some cases.
What do you do when you get a fish that size to the boat? Because I know you guys aren't typically keeping these fish. I mean, how do you handle it? How do you get the hook out? How do you release it? Because this isn't like a 15-inch walleye here.
No, and Mike, one of the most important things, and it's pretty accessible fishery. I've run around in a 14-foot aluminum boat as a kid on this river, so you don't need a big boat, but you do need a fishing partner. You have and it's great, especially if you can find somebody new to the fishery or a kid to take with you. But it really helps to have two people to handle a 60 to 100-pound or 120-pound fish. And, we don't want to hold those fish up by the gills. I've got a big net that I use. If you've got a couple of people, you can get one guy to grab them just ahead of the tail and another guy to get up underneath the belly. But you want to get those fish in the boat as gently as possible, and you want to hold them horizontally. You want to support them. And then once you get them back in the water, you may have to hang on to them for a bit and give them a chance to revive before you release them to swim away on their own. And you'll know when they're ready. But it really helps to have two people on the boat, adequate net or a cradle of some sort. But it's really helpful to have two people.
And before we let you go, is this strictly a boat fishery? Is there anywhere we can target these fish from shore?
There is a very nice fishing pier in Pearl Beach down near the Colony Tower that sees a lot of activity. They catch a bunch of fish off there. It's a great opportunity. Downtown Algonac City Park is a good possibility. There are some people that fish there. They probably don't do as well as they do on the Pearl Beach Pier. But other than that, it's pretty much private property. And if you know somebody and can get permission from a private homeowner off of their dock, you could do well there.
Jim, always a pleasure. I wish you a good season, and we'll talk again.
Thanks again, Mike.
Jim Felgenauer of Sturgeon for Tomorrow, Lake St. Clair, the St. Clair chapter. The website, stclairsturgeon.org, stclairsturgeon.org. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Nick Green from MUCC checks in, and then we'll wrap up the hour with this week's Ask Avery segment. That's coming up as we wrap up hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Lansing on WIOS 1320 AM and in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, cooling, ductwork, cleaning, sump pumps, you name it. Everything to keep your house running smoothly, to keep you comfortable, to keep you dry. The folks from Wilds can take care of it. Whatever it takes is their slogan, their motto, and they really do believe that. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. I want to turn our attention now to the folks at MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Nick Green is their Chief Information Officer, joins us now once again on the phone line. Nick, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today, Mike.
Always a pleasure. What's going on in your world?
Gray wolves are back in the headlines this week.
They are? Okay.
So on Monday, Attorney General Dana Nessel submitted a brief in a California court asking that wolves be placed back on the endangered species list. So, this is concerning for MUCC. Nessel's position directly contradicts the administration and the DNR's position, as evidenced by the public comments that are submitted by the DNR. We're undergoing kind of revamping our management plan. So it's just a little disheartening to see our elected officials fighting against our state biologist data.
So, I hadn't heard this. So Dana Nessel, the state attorney general, wants wolves put back on the endangered species, protected again. What authority, what purview does she have to deal with this?
So she is using the way she's interpreting the Endangered Species Act law is kind of the gist for her suit. What's troubling is, she is elected to represent the people of the state of Michigan. She's not elected to represent the wolf populations in the Northern Rockies and in Oregon and other places that they may not be recovered. And the only way to have wolves delisted in Michigan is a full federal delisting. If the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service needs to go back and delist certain populations where they aren't recovered, that's a separate conversation. But the Attorney General spending taxpayer dollar and taxpayer time on this issue when there are far more important issues related specifically to Michigan and Michigan constituents, it's mind-blowing.
It really is. I mean, talk about going off the rails. I didn't know this was going on, Nick. This is very disheartening, very concerning. But what can we do about it?
At this point, everything's in limbo. It's in a Northern California court. We don't know exactly why that court was picked, but I presume there was some judge shopping that went into it. So we just don't know. But the problem, as it has been for years, is that when these lawsuits pop up that are, essentially frivolous or not going to do much, they just extend and prolong, all of our management efforts. We could be stuck for years in this holding pattern because of these lawsuits.
I'm still shaking my head. This just blows my mind that she would choose to make a stand on this issue, that she would choose to deal with an out-of-state court, go against the local Michigan biologist. It just makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
It's almost as if it's standing on a podium and saying, well, I'm doing the right thing, because it's the right thing to do. Well, you are elected to represent Michigan voters and your constituents. Like I said, not wolf populations or constituents in other states. So, it's documented that she has, Attorney General Dana Nessel has received funding from campaign contributions from Humane Society of the United States. So there are also ulterior motives.
Of course,
that is likely.
Of course there are. Oh, my goodness. Doggone it. There is, coming up next week, I think, the Michigan Wolf Hunt Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet. Was this already scheduled, or is this a result of this crazy action by a crazy woman?
This was already scheduled. So our executive director, Amy Trotter, is one of the representatives on the Wolf Management Advisory Council. That will be in the UP next Wednesday. There will be opportunity for public comment, but not remote public comment. So we're kind of looking forward to see that roll out. I imagine their first meeting will talk a lot about logistics, processes, what things do we hope to accomplish? How will we pass recommendations? Do we need a consensus? Do we need a majority? So those are probably what they'll cover in the first meeting. And then as we move through it, hopefully we'll have some more tangible things to talk about in terms of populations, prospective hunts, things like that.
But at this point, it's not looking good for a wolf hunt anytime in the near future, is it?
It's tough. The department has said, and rightfully so, that litigation kind of needs to get settled. Any decisions you make, well, there's ongoing litigation. You could do all this work and then it all gets rolled back.
Yeah.
So as long as we have lawsuits going on, it's going to be tough to get a wolf hunt. But we are pushing forward, and we're optimistic that by November, December, we will have some kind of firm plan that the NRC can look at and decide whether or not a hunt is warranted.
Well, Nick, I appreciate the insight, the input, and the news. It's not good news; it's disturbing news, but appreciate that. Nick Green of MUCC. The website MUCC.org is the promo code Mike, all caps, for 25% on your membership. We'll take a break. The Ask Avery segment coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK, that's 95.3 FM, and you can hear us in Caro on two stations, WKYO, 1360 AM, and WIDL, 92.1 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way this works is this is your opportunity to ask me a question directly, or if you've got something for the DNR or that you can't get to that you think maybe I do have some access to, well, you can suggest that I go that route. And the way you get your questions to me, now you can hit me up on any of the social media outlets, but I think the best way is to send me an email, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com with your question. That's what Jason Coulter did. He sent me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and he asked me a question that was really kind of hit me hard, kind of hit me personally, because I'm still struggling with this and I haven't quite figured out what to do. He says, Mike, I've followed your bow hunts for the last couple of years, and I respect that you've used a recurve. Now, for folks who don't know, a recurve is a piece of traditional archery gear. If you look at the bow like Fred Bear used to shoot, that was a recurve. And then you've got compound bows that are more sophisticated. They've got cams on the end. They have a high let-off, higher performance. Very, very popular. And then these days you've also got crossbows. A crossbow is a horizontal bow. Like if you go back to the old William Tell movies, those guys were shooting an early form of crossbow, just to give you a frame of reference for what they are. Going back to Jason's email, he says, I've always wanted to try traditional archery, but couldn't make the commitment. I get that. He says, now I hear you talk about switching over to a crossbow. Why? Here's the statement that puts a dagger in my heart. Do you feel like you've sold out in any way? He said, I respect your decision either way and wish you luck this fall. Jason, there's a very timely and, like I said, a very personal question. I appreciate it. I am struggling with this. I really don't want to give up a recurve. To me, it is the most pure, basic, instinctive style of archery and of bow hunting. And you've got to be so up close and you've got to be so in their face. And I mean, 20 yards or less. And I killed a bear with a recurve. I've killed a big long-beard turkey with a recurve. I have not killed a deer with a recurve yet. But I've been struggling lately. When I lost all that weight, I lost an awful lot of strength. And the poundage on my recurve is only 41 pounds at 28 inches, which means that my draw length, I'm pulling about 46, 47 pounds, which is plenty enough to get the job done. But in my opinion, I wouldn't want to go much lighter than that. Plus, I find myself, because I get busy in other areas, and this is a laziness thing. I get it. The last year I haven't shot as much as I should to keep my confidence level high. The first year I went back to a recurve, I shot all the time and my confidence level was high. In this last year, I haven't shot as much, and so I'm not as confident. So I'm struggling with the issue. And do I feel like I sell out if I go to a crossbow? That's a good question. There's nothing wrong with a crossbow at all. I've taken a lot of animals with a crossbow. And in my mind, the benefit of a crossbow is strictly the confidence level. Yeah, you can reach out to probably, I wouldn't shoot more than 40 yards, but you've doubled your range. I know when I put the crosshairs of the scope on my crossbow on an animal and pull the trigger that there is a very, very good chance it's going to be a quick, clean, humane killing shot. And that's what I want. That's the goal of any bow hunter. So, I don't know. With this opportunity of this bear hunt that just got laid in my lap, basically, I mean, that's perfect. That's perfect for a recurve. It's 15 yards or less on an animal that's coming into bait. I've killed a nice bear with a recurve. But I got to make this decision. By the time you hear this radio show, I will have had to make this decision because it's time to rock one way or another. I did talk to Ted Hartman with Dart and Archery. If I go to a crossbow, it was like, okay, am I going to shoot a Darton or am I going to shoot a Raven? I would always prefer to shoot a Michigan-made product, and so it would be a Darton crossbow. Just like that Predator recurve I've been hunting with is a Michigan-made bow. So I honestly don't know. I want to have confidence in what I'm doing. I want to be as sure as I can that it will be a good killing shot that results in a quick, clean, humane dispatching of the animal. But I really love the tradition and the history and the simplicity and the purity of traditional archery. So I don't know, Jason, but thanks for, I was going to say thanks for calling me out, but I listen, I didn't have to use this question. I chose to. So I don't know. By this time next week, I will have had to decide, that's for sure. And if I'm going to stick with the recurve, then that's what it'll be. It won't be it won't be a half and half. People say, well, take both. I don't work that way. I got to commit to one or the other. Jason Coulter, appreciate that email and the question. You can send me a question for the Ask Avery segment. Send it to me at mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And as always, a thank you to our friends at Security Credit Union for helping to make each week's Ask Avery segment possible. We will take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Vance Gawel talks about bear hunting with dogs, running dogs in general. He lost a dog, speaking of wolves, to a wolf in the UP a couple of years ago. So it should be an interesting conversation in Hour 3 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. As always, so glad to have you along with us. I say this all the time, but I do truly and sincerely, I mean it. I appreciate it. There's no way that a guy like me in the job that I have could have any longevity or success if you weren't watching the old videos or watching the online comment or following me online or listening to the radio show or listening to the podcast version of the radio show. It just wouldn't be possible. And so, I first and foremost, I have God to thank for any success that I have, but I also have you to thank for this because you have allowed me to, now 40 years in broadcasting and the last 30 of it or so, concentrating on the outdoors, to be able to follow in what many ways is a dream job. I mean, back when I had the TV show, it was it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of pressure, and it was not always fun. In fact, towards the end, it wasn't any of it fun. But now with radio and podcasting and social media, it's just the pressure's less. It's enjoyable. It's fun, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that I can do this, and I do not take the position I've found myself in lightly. I think oftentimes I don't, and I'm not trying to blow myself up here. I'm not trying to put a level of importance on myself that isn't here, because I realize that that's not the case, believe me. But I often hear from people that say, Avery, we love the fact that you are out there defending this outdoor lifestyle, promoting this outdoor lifestyle, calling people out when they do stupid things, like when the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners voted against hunting-related contests. That type of thing needs to be brought to the surface. And I am absolutely shocked, because I didn't know this, what I learned in hour number 2 when Nick Green of MUCC came on and said our State Attorney General, Dana Nessel, had filed a lawsuit in California to put wolves back on the endangered species list. How ludicrous is that? That's the type of thing that has to be talked about. That's the type of thing that has to be put in perspective. As Nick very eloquently said, that there are many more important things in this world, in this state, to worry about right now than our State Attorney General filing an out-of-state lawsuit to put wolves back on the endangered species list. What a joke. Don't get me started. Speaking of wolves, I actually hunted wolves in Ontario. It's been, 10 years or so now. The most intense hunt I've ever been on. They are the smartest animals I've ever hunted. The conditions were the most extreme I've ever hunted in. I first talked, if my recollection is correct, I first talked with my guest this hour. His name is Vance Gawel. I first talked with him a couple of years ago after he was running his dogs in the UP. I think it was about this time of year they were doing training, and he lost one of his dogs to a wolf. And he told that story on the air, and it was a terrible, terrible thing to have him go through. Last year, Vance was with us because he guided a northern Michigan lady. He took his dogs in and got a northern Michigan lady. I think it was like a 650-pound animal. So Vance knows dogs. He knows dog hunting. And this is the time of year to think about that. You're going to see dogs out in the woods right now. They're training. Maybe you got a bear tag and you don't have anywhere to go. Maybe you should book a trip with one of these dog hunters. Well, Vance is a great guy to talk with about this, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Vance, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing real well. Real well. Listen, you and I wanted to talk last week, but you were busy farming. Have you slowed down a little bit here for a couple of weeks?
Not really. I just was out spraying some soybeans this morning, but I get some time in the mornings and the evenings to do some dog work. But
where is your place, Vance? Where are you farming, Vance?
I'm farming in Johannesburg, Michigan, probably 12 miles east of Gaylord. We're doing about 1,500 acres of row crops up here, so it takes up a significant amount of time.
Well, and you're right there in elk country too, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got a fair amount of elk on the farm.
Do you see them? Do you see them when you're out working?
Yeah, I do. I see. I've been keeping track of them. Early season's coming up, but I can, in an evening, drive around and find 20 to 40 of them, probably right before dark. So,
well, that's kind of a cool, not kind of. That's a very cool thing to see, unless you're a farmer and they're in your fields.
It's tough. They do a lot of damage, not just eating, but just those big heavy animals, compaction, walking across the ground. It's tough.
Will a standard three strand barbed wire fence even slow them down?
No, They jump. They can jump that, and they walk through stuff if they want to. But we've been doing a pretty good job the last 4 or 5 years of getting people in here and helping us reduce the numbers around the area. So,
you mean with taking people who have elk tags out on the farm? And
yeah,
I got you.
Yep.
I got you.
I do.
But you that's kind of an informal thing. You don't do that officially. And do you run? Are you a bear hunting guide? Can people hire you for a bear hunt?
I don't usually do that. I have a guide license, but I prefer to just help friends and hunt with friends. And a friend of a friend has a tag, we'll work with them and see what we can do. I like doing it for fun, and it seems like the money makes it less fun for me.
No, so. I get it. I get that completely. Since you had that situation in the UP when you lost that dog, have you been running your dogs up there at all, or are you staying out of that area?
No, I've moved west. That was on the east end. I don't hunt on the east end anymore, but where I'm hunting up in the Keweenaw now, it seems fairly safe. You never know. We see tracks every once in a while, but it's just a risk you take, I guess. You lose dogs to bears, lose dogs to wolf once in a while. I've had vehicles take a dog out. So it's just part of the deal, and I don't like to lose them, but it happens.
I didn't know you guys lost dogs to bears once in a while.
Yeah, I've lost, I would say 2. I've had some real near misses with some nasty bears that don't want to go in a tree and fight on the ground. But yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about this concept of running dogs for bear. Some people don't understand it, and so they don't like it. But tell me what this is all about. I mean, there's a long history and tradition of running dogs.
It is. I've been doing it 30 years. My grandfather had coon dogs, and my dad had coon dogs, so he started on that and just progressed into big game hunting with them. And I liken it to catch and release fishing. The kill season in Red Oak is only 7-8 days long where we're at. So the majority of the time we're just catching bears, taking pictures, letting them go, and to run another day. We don't kill many in the kill season. In this area, I hunt with a couple friends from downstate, and usually we kill 1, maybe 2 a year. It's more just looking at the bears, having fun chasing them. The kids like going. Last night we went after I was done farming, my dad and my 3-year-old went, and we found one at 6:30 p.m. and ran it till dark and came home. So it's just it's fun to just pursue and chase them and look at them, take pictures, and let them go.
Could it be looked at, and I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm on your side here, but could it be looked at as harassing these animals by doing that?
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Some people would think that, but we run the same bears over and over. I mean, you get to know certain areas, certain bears, and it doesn't affect them, in my opinion. We stand back, we pull the dogs out, and we take videos of them running down the tree and walking away. It's pretty low impact.
Well, and listen, I want to follow up on that. I got to take a break here, but this whole concept of catch and release, and I'm also curious. You said you get to know these bears, which makes me think that you have run these bears multiple times. So obviously, it's not doing any real damage to them. We're talking with Vance Gawel. Vance is a northern Michigan farmer who happens to be a hardcore houndsman. I met him when he lost I talked to him when he lost a dog in the UP to wolves, and then last fall his dogs went in on that 650-pound monster, I think it was. And he's a real knowledgeable and down-to-earth guy, and so I enjoy talking with him. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up with Vance Gawel about dog hunting and hunting dogs right here in Michigan, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM and in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. And a reminder, if you use the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, you can save 25% on your MUCC membership. Talking now with a very, very interesting guy. His name is Vance Gawel. He is a northern Michigan farmer, but he's also a hardcore houndsman. Vance, I want to talk to you about running bears with dogs, but before that, you were telling me the other day, a mutual friend of ours, Gabe Van Wormer of Michigan Outdoors TV, he got an elk tag, and you're gonna take him out on your farm and try to get him a cow using some very interesting methods. What are you guys going to do this year?
Well, I'm not sure if he wants to talk about it yet, but he's really, really good with a longbow, and we would like to try and get one with a longbow. We'll see. He doesn't really need me. He's the most capable elk hunter that I've ever dealt with, been around. So it's going to be fun. He's got a December tag. If the longbow doesn't pan out, hopefully the handgun will, and I know it will with him.
Well,
so
yeah, he's hardcore. He's very good. And listen, if he says anything about, hey, I didn't want to talk about that, lay it on my shoulders. You had nothing to do with it.
I will.
Hey, so running a normal hunt with you guys, and people need to realize that, I don't know, like 90% or more of your hunts do not result in a dead bear. Walk me through this. How many dogs do you take out on a hunt? First of all,
well, currently I've only got 4 that are hunting. I have a female that has puppies that's staying at home, but the most I've ever got in my truck is 5. I usually go out and drive the track or drive sand roads early in the morning. I like to find the bear by 6 or so if I can help it, and look for tracks hanging out the window, find a good track, and I usually start with 2 dogs on the track, and it's called Cold Trail, and see if we can get the bear jumped where they catch up and running the bear, and then see where we go from there. And if I'm hunting with a group of people, bears will cross and people will add dogs here and there. And but I do a lot of midweek stuff alone, just me and my dad. So we are really small compared to some large groups that you could run into out there.
And do you know these bears? Do you think you've run the same bear more than once?
Yeah, over the years you get to know. It's hard on a black bear, but there's some features. We had a bear that had frostbite ears, a nice boar, and his ears were real torn up from the frostbite. Maybe happened when he was a cub, and we actually probably ran him for 3 years, knew of him for 3 years, and my buddy Chris's son killed him for his first bear, and he ended up being 300 plus. But wow. Last year we had a black muzzled bear that was really large that we dealt with for a few years, and we ended up getting him. This year, since July 8th, there's a bear with a really nice bear with a rubbed out back leg, just one back leg. We've looked at him 3 different times in a tree now. So, yeah, you get familiar with him.
So you run the 2 tracks. You're looking for tracks. So then when you find a good track that you like, how many do you let the whole group of dogs out on them, or just one at that point, or what?
No, I usually start with 2. I've been putting more out lately just because of the difference where I hunt in the UP. There's not as many chances to get dogs out after the bear has actually jumped. So I've been starting more dogs, but I'm down here below the bridge. I normally start 2 dogs on a bear.
And how, I know it's going to vary from hunt to hunt, but how long does it take them usually to catch up with that bear? Or can you tell from the sound of their barking what's going on?
Yeah, you can tell by the sound of the bark. You can tell by how the track is going on your GPS. And there's many different things. The track speeds up, the dogs speed up, intensity of the barking, basically.
And so your dogs, though, they got collars where you can keep track of them.
Yep, we're running GPS collars. We can see them. We know where they're at all times. Nice, handy feature, protect them from roads and keep them out of private property where people don't want us. So.
Well, and you and I both know that's one of the knock on dog hunters is private property. But how in the world, if a bear crosses private property, your dogs are going to follow him? There's not much you can do, is there?
No, we can stop it. That excuse cannot be used anymore. That is, hurt hound hunters. From here on out, if we keep using the dogs can't read signs, we are staring at a screen with those dogs, and we have a tone button. We have a shock button. You don't even need to use the shock button. You can tone these dogs and stop them. And if people say they can't, I don't agree with that, and I don't believe it. We're causing ourselves more hassle letting these dogs go into private property. Mistakes happen, but we got to do everything in our power to stay where we're allowed to be.
That's interesting. I knew you could monitor where the dogs were, but I didn't realize you had a way of reaching out to them as well. So if you see them going somewhere you don't want them to go, whether it's private property or a freeway, God forbid, or a highly traveled road, you can either zap them or at least send them a tone. And will they drop off the run? Will they quit following the bear?
Mine will. Last year, my wife killed a 300-pound bear in Red Oak on opening day. It ran to a busy highway, and it ran into a large private club. We stopped all the dogs, picked them up, made some calls, and the guy was nice enough to let the dogs loose and finish the hunt. So it can be done, and we do it all the time, the guys I hunt with.
That's very impressive, Vance. I did not know that was possible, so good for you guys.
Yeah, there's no excuse. People have the capability. Everybody are running GPS units now. There's just no excuse anymore.
So the dogs get on the track, and again, I realize every hunt is different. But is there an average length, or what's the range of this bear ran 200 yards before retreat, and this one ran 5 miles?
Well, yeah, it makes a difference, the size of the bear. I had a couple last week that were 10, 11 miles, but most of the time I'm turning loose around 6:30 if I've got a track, and I'm back to the farm by 9:30. So it's pretty quick. When I hunt in the West End, that's a whole different story. That can be an all day affair, but there's a lot less roads, a lot less access. So.
Yeah, when you said you were going up to the Keweenaw, I thought that's pretty cool because that's, as beautiful as you are there in Joburg there, you get to the Keweenaw, that's a whole different ballgame.
It's a different world. I like the big country, and that's big country. Holy cow.
So do those bears up there react differently because they haven't had they haven't been run before, probably like your bears down here have been?
They act pretty similar, I would say. It's harder to get to them, get to the end of the race. It's harder to cut dogs into the race, so you just get longer runs and bigger areas. So it's much tougher than here. I hunt in a very easy part of the state, in my opinion.
Will a bear always tree? Is that how it ends?
No. Matter of fact, last night, the one we turned loose on at 6:30, he actually stopped in the water and just wouldn't go up a tree. He refused to, and the dogs just bait him, and I ended up going in and just picked him out of there one at a time. So no, they don't. Not necessarily ending up in a tree, and we get beat a lot too. You get on a 100-pound bear; those things can run and run and run. So, it's not always successful, but it's always fun.
Well, I'm thinking you got a good look at this bear last night. When they do go up a tree, you get a good look at him. What a cool way to get a close-up look at what I think is one of the coolest animals in Michigan.
Yeah, it's handy in kill season. You can protect sows. You get a good look at them and know what you're taking. It's a lot of fun. My family love it. It's a big family affair. My buddies, I think we had like 8 or 9 girls with us last year, young girls. It's just a great time.
You guys run coyotes too?
I don't. I just prefer to run cats. I've got friends that run coyotes, but I stay away from coyotes.
That's right. I forgot you run cats. Tell me about that.
Basically, same thing as running bears. Just get out and look for tracks in the morning. I'm lucky I've got some really nice access to big private chunks in the winter. So that's a lot of catch and release too. You know, we let a lot go. Don't kill females. Don't kill little cats, and just try to target big cats. I believe I talked to you last year. I had Gabe with me, and we were running probably one of the biggest cats any of us has ever seen.
I do remember that. Yeah. Now, a cat, I got to believe a cat's always going to tree, though, isn't it?
No. The first one, on opening day last year, we took a nice one, my dad and I, and he just stayed on the ground. And they'll get in backed up in blowdowns and stay on the ground. So, yep.
If some, I hear from people every year, Vance, hey, I finally got this bear tag, and now I don't know what to do because they didn't have anybody lined up, you know, to bait for them or something. Is this an option if people get in touch with not necessarily you, but, you know, people like you? Do you guys take hunters out?
Oh, most hound guys do, yeah, for sure. And like I said, I just help people I know and don't do it for money, but you look on the guide list and there's bunches of dog guys on there that are really good at what they do, and they're going to get you a nice bear. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I love the fact that it doesn't, you know, it's a hunt that you guys say it's like catch and release. It is. And sooner or later, you know, you and I have talked a bunch, but sooner or later, we're gonna get together in person, and I'm going to enjoy watching you guys work. Thanks, Vance. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to follow up on a few things, and then we'll bring in wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar to wrap up this week's show. This show has flown by. I think it's because Charlie Rood is at the controls, and he's making this thing run like a machine. Sometimes a rusty machine, but a machine. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Sports Extra, 1330 WTRX. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us in Saginaw on WSTW AM and FM. That's 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSTW right now, but I have a sign behind me that proves that it's actually the Outdoor Magazine radio studio for at least a couple hours a week. Charlie Rood in here, as I said earlier, doing a wonderful job as always. He turns and waves to the adoring crowd. We actually had to put some barricades up at the end of the driveway because the crowds were just, it was overwhelming. The people who work here couldn't get into the station because they were coming in to see Charlie. And so the cops were out there. So they just put barricades up at the end of the driveway, and I think they might hire a security guard next week to check IDs before people come in. And this is all because of Charlie Rood. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. It's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. The folks from Reader are coming over, in fact, to my house tomorrow morning. We've got a sprinkler system, and they're doing the mid-season check. I actually asked them, I said, look, can you dial it back a little bit? Because the grass is getting so much water that it's growing like crazy. And I'm about ready to take a break on mowing this stuff, okay? So the guys from Reader will check that out. They were over a couple of weeks ago to trim the trees around the edge of the house. So they do a great job. They have for me, and they will for you. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com, REDER, readerlandscaping.com. I want to follow up on that conversation with Vance Gawel. This is actually the first time I had ever been made aware of the fact that these guys, if they're diligent, can stop their dogs from going on private land. Because, listen, I'm a big proponent and supporter of the houndsman. I think it's a time-honored way to hunt. I think it's a shame that there seem to be two different classes, and that's in quotes, of dog hunters. If you go out and chase pheasants or grouse with a setter or a short hair, you are somehow looked at as almost being revered in the hunting world. Yet if you go out and chase coyotes or bears with hounds, you're somehow in some circles considered a redneck or a hillbilly. And I think that is a mistake, and I think it's a shame. But as even Vance admitted, sometimes the houndsmen are their own worst enemies because, not all of them do everything right. And listen, that's the case with any group. I don't care what it is. I am convinced that the vast majority of hunters and anglers are good, decent, law-abiding, conservation-oriented people because I've seen it for 40 years. I've seen it for my entire life. So I know that to be a fact. But we are people. We are humans. So I don't care what group it is, from hunters and anglers to teachers to pastors to cops. Not everybody is going to be exemplary. And some of the houndsmen do give themselves a black eye by letting their dogs, by not stopping their dogs from running on private land. And they'll tell you, look, if we're running a coyote or a bear and that critter crosses into private property, there's nothing we can do about it. I've heard that for years, and I accepted it. Now, Vance tells me that with these electronic collars, you can actually stop the animal. You have the ability to it's like the shock collar on your dog in the backyard. You can hit them with a tone that gets their attention, or if you really need to stop them, you can hit them with a little bit of a shock and get their attention. I didn't realize that these houndsmen could do that. Now, he just texted me, and the break, he says, I forgot to mention when we talked about stopping dogs from going into private property, that the maps that they're using on their GPS now, and I use Onyx for hunting, they have all of the property lines drawn out. So you know if your dog is coming up on private property. He says, Vance's word, no excuse to let dogs blow through private property. And it's guys like Vance Gawel who give houndsmen a good name, right? What else? So very happy to have the opportunity to go back into Ontario to hunt with Ron St. Louis, a bear hunt. This is something we didn't see happening. Ron is working hard. He's going to run his season only 1 week later, August 22nd through the 28th, and the following week, if you can't make it up there by then. Because you have to be fully vaccinated, some of Ron's hunters are not going to, that he had, planned for 2020, aren't going to be able to go. So he has some openings. I will be up there the week of the 22nd. If you want to come up and take advantage of this, and this is, it's a lot of fun, go to the website, northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com. There you can get Ron's phone number. You can text him or email him, or text him or call him, or send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and I will give you that same info. He's got some openings, and I want to support him. I mean, these guys missed all last year of income, so anything I can do to help them out and bring some hunters up there, I will be there. If you want to join us, northernwildernessbearoutfitters.com, or send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Really, really looking forward to this hunt. All right, we'll take a break, last break of the hour, and we'll wrap up the hour as we bring back wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. Glad to have you along with us. I look forward to this 3 hours each week that we get a chance to visit and talk. And listen, if you want to talk and have more of a conversation than we can here on the radio show, you can always send me an email. My address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Let me know what's on your mind. Maybe suggest a topic for the show. Maybe suggest somebody I should talk with. Something that you're sick of hearing about, and I can guess what it's going to be. I understand that. I accept that. But I do kind of talk about, I follow the seasons, and I talk about the things that I have an interest in. Primarily, I try to be as broad-based as possible. For example, I've never ran bears with dogs, but I talk about it. But if there's something you want to hear on the show, send me an email to mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and we can talk about it. We can talk about talking about it. And right now I'm going to be talking with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar, big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, and he's here once again. David, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing very well, so we're just going to talk about talking it.
We're going to talk about talking about talk, and then so let's talk about it.
Okay, so how you been?
I've been doing good, Dave. How you feeling?
Good, pretty good.
Yeah?
I know, man. My shape's doing pretty good, I guess.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Hey, listen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what's the status with the Oscar and Joey's?
We're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
You are? Okay.
We did a soft opening last week, or the weekend before. We just opened up, turned on the open signs, and people started coming. Right away. People said they were driving down the road, seeing the open sign on, right around.
Isn't that something?
Oh, wow. The Facebook comments just brought tears to my eyes.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good to hear.
People miss this. They miss that on the menu. Can we come get it? Are you still doing so-and-so? And, it just makes me overwhelmed with good feeling.
Well, I mean, you've got a reputation, you've got a history, you've been around there for a long time. People know you, Dave.
I know, and I'm happy to have that kind of a following. Believe you me.
Well, I know you and Charlie were talking here off the air about what you got planned for us this week. What is it, Dave?
We have a barbecued smoked kind of a salmon with apple. We did a recipe very similar to this up the Insta launch numerous times.
I was actually thinking it was the same recipe.
Very, very close. I just altered a little bit.
All right, let's hear it.
Anyways, this is for really a larger amount of fish, 4 to 6 portions. So you need about 8 to 10 ounces of boneless, skinless fillet per person. And if it's a bigger fish, you might have some red underneath the skin, that red meat. Take a real sharp knife and clean that all off and cut the V out there in the lateral line, because that's a little stronger on a big fish. So anyway, you need a couple of cooking apples, peeled, de-seeded, and you want to put them in a food processor. Or you can take one of them little hand graters, and grate it all up nice and fine. And if you like, you could get a couple ounces of apple schnapps. And if you don't care for it, that's fine too if you're not using alcohol. And about a quarter jar of apple jelly. You want to take a little bit of warm water in a mixing bowl and melt that down in actually pretty hot water. And you want to make it more liquid than a jelly, because you're going to mix this together. And you need about a cup or cup and a half of either store-bought barbecue sauce or your own homemade, however you want to go. I like a nice good squeeze of lemon in here, probably close to a whole lemon, or lime if you like that flavor too. You can go either way, just so long as you got that tartness of the citrus. And I like to put some Cajun spice in this. And if you're opposed to any kind of spicy food, leave it out, because it's just an embellishment, so to speak, And you need about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. So what you're going to do is mix all of those ingredients together and kind of taste them and see if it's kind of to your liking. If you need a little more cayenne, if you like it spicy, by all means, now is the time to alter it. So in the day before, you're going to do this before you, or even maybe 6 to 8 hours would be sufficient to marinate this. So you need a couple of cups, maybe 2 or 3, of apple smoking chips. Any good, like Myers or some good hardware stores would sell bags of that. It's like a couple of pounds for just a few dollars. You want to soak that overnight, or 1 to 2 hours would be just sufficient also. So you're going to soak that up. Now, what you could do is one side of your barbecue, you're going to go like medium hot, and the other side very hot. You're going to put the smoking chips in aluminum pie pan, one of them little thin ones. Let the water drain off pretty good. Put that on first. Get that rolling real good so you got a lot of smoke. So you're going to take and wipe off, with your hand.
You got about 30 seconds, David.
Wipe off all of the sauce on that. Put it on the barbecue, skin side down. So when you flip it in 4 to 5 minutes, boom, you need another 4 or 5 minutes and you're done. Take some of that sauce, put it on the bottom of the plate, set your fish on top, sprinkle with fresh parsley, a couple of sliced apple sides, boom, bye.
I knew you could do it. He's not only the consummate wild game chef, he's also a broadcast professional. All right, David, I appreciate that. Hey, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can always reach me via email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.